Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. I'm just winding down after work. I had to renew my license at the DMV today, and so I got that done. I had to get a proof of address. I guess now they take check stubs. You have to be careful because at the DMV you have to set appointments now, so you have to make sure your DMV doesn't require an appointment. But anyways, I just wanted to get on here and talk about a few things, give a few metaphors, talk about a few blessings, and then talk a little bit about how karma works and for every vain word again. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to people about. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, but I just wanted to talk about a little of the irony that I've been witnessing amongst mankind, and I wanted to give you all a blessing and warn you all of a curse that should be coming pretty soon here. I usually don't speak curses into existence. I don't play with stuff like that because the thing about certain things is that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And so when we begin to install certain software, a lot of times after the software is involved, people are upset with the new parameters of their programming, so to speak. So I just saw that Trump was removing, or whatever is going on with their administration, they're removing a bunch of laws protecting against segregation, and they're removing things like signs inside of schools and stuff that say we are all equal, we all belong, we are all welcome. And so I thought about that, right? And some hours went by, and after the initial news in the morning about how they're removing segregation laws, that whole day I saw multiple businesses banning anybody wearing any Trump memorabilia, anything dealing with MAGA or Republicans. And so I thought to myself, this is another situation explaining how the Lord will be mocked. That which I am will not be mocked. And when I say that, I keep telling you all, don't think of necessarily me. If you exist, you're an I am. If you can think about what I'm telling you, if you can, you think, therefore you are. And so, with that being said, the more people try to damage others, they're actually hurting themselves. You wouldn't believe how many people was complaining about immigrants and people of color and people using the system, but almost every single American that was doing that was using the system. And a lot of people, this is the curse I wanted to warn you of, and at least something else too. So recently, after they had published that they were removing all these segregation protections, a whole bunch of African Americans, including myself, were celebrating. They're like, oh, I saw one joke that said, yeah, enjoy not having any seasonings and all this other stuff, which is a silly stereotype. But what I wanted to basically explain is that it's not getting the results that they thought it was. Because I want to explain to you what they're trying to do. First of all, you notice all these fiery stories about black people recently, and I continually keep saying, let's rest, don't worry about it, because they're reactive stories. They want you all, they want us to get in the streets to start protesting and do civil rights again, do all this madness and foolishness. Then what they do is they sit in the shadows, and then after it's all said and done with and everybody's protected again and everything's kicked off, we go back to being at the bottom again. It happens all the time. What happened to the civil rights movements? Everybody got to come in and party, and then they started bashing us over the heads, the ones that initiated the installation of equality, if you will. And so I said all that to say this. I was watching a man, and I just shared it on my community page, talking about how in 18 minutes, if you take what I'm saying as true, you'll be able to control the simulation or deal with the simulation. Well, he did something most people don't do. He used physics in a logical way that's not talking about sci-fi and buffoonery. So I'm explaining what he did. This one got me. I can't believe I didn't think of this, but once he said this, it opened my mind to a whole new world, and I'm explaining. When dealing with quantum physics, you have something called the Higgs boson. You have gluons and quarks and different stuff like that as subatomic particles. Now, I've talked about this in a couple of videos. Well, the thing about quarks is they carry a certain charge. And so you have three types of quarks. I'm just calling it these colors because it symbolizes how much energy they possess. You would have a red quark, a blue quark, and a green quark. Now, each of those quarks are attached. I don't know exactly how, but the red's attached to the blue and the blue's attached to the green. It's not physically attached, it's like attached by this weird elastic thing in nature. Well, whenever they say matter can't be recreated, it can't be destroyed, it can only be recreated. Whenever a particle, a gluon, breaks away from the group because of spinning too fast or something, those three particles, what happens is when it breaks away, that gluon then creates a negative gluon to balance it out, like it just balances it out in nature. And then another gluon is also created on the particle that just lost its gluon. And so what's happening in nature is that particles are literally popping up in nature based on the surroundings and or what's happening in its external environment. Another thing, when dealing with certain of those particles, something that happens on this side of the universe will instantaneously happen on this side of the universe if a particle or if an atom is big enough, right? How's that possible? How are things appearing like that in nature, right? They'll say we can't perceive it yet. That's what I'm trying to tell people. He brought that up in his argument. He said one time I brought up the fact that are we actually walking through physical matter or are we loading environments as we go, almost like a video game or something like that? And so I brought that up even further to say this. That even further proves that if this is a matrix, that's a logical argument. That matter is appearing, creating, and being destroyed and rendering as we witness it. And so he brought up the argument, it's almost like Schrodinger's equation or Schrodinger's box. Nothing really matters, and as you interact with matter is the results you get, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the spiritual aspect of, oh, if you do this and you do that and blah, 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 all that manifesting stuff, because we each do it in our own way. But as I've told you all recently, I've been saying things like, things are going to go well. No weapon formed against me will prosper. I am health. I am living. Just different random stuff. Saying to myself, help me become instinctual with the righteousness. And when I say righteousness, I'm talking about, avoid all that religious stuff. I'm talking about creating a world where the user controls everything and then manifests peace and love in their world, or however you want to call it. Because these people that all tried to hurt people because of programs all got hurt. These people all talking about DEI ended up being DEI and getting fired and losing their jobs. And so that's just another simple example of how karma entangles into humanity or the decisions we make or consciousness. I'll give you an example. Something bad could be happening. I could be like, oh, this shit's about to piss me off. So then when it gets worse, I literally just gave the universe instruction to piss me off. Literally out of my mouth. Or if I think it and go along with the thoughts. He brought up something else talking about the automatic nervous system, and I brought that up a lot. The mind is like a Google search engine. Anything can pop up. It's up to me, the user, to refine and define my searches and create a world where I can understand what's going on and have control over my mind, automatic nervous system. The idea that he removed all these segregation protections and then MAGA was the one that was segregated against, that's funny to me. That's like, he did it to himself, his own people. When I hear about Elon talking about finding corruption and taking away people's benefits and programs and then losing billions of dollars because he's a Nazi playing Yahtzee, that's hilarious to me. That's a situation where he thought he was going to destroy something and then he got destroyed. And so one more part that I wanted to bring up about the whole resting and how they're trying to create infuriating news to black people, because in one of the stories, I think he's Italian. He was doing an interview with a black woman. She was like, I don't give a fuck. Bring segregation. We got all the foods, and when y'all can't come to our spots, and we ain't got to deal with Karens, but it's just going on and on. And then he said this. He said, what about Italians? And that's when it dawned on me. I saw a comment too. What about Italians? What about Italians? Where are Italians? People are trying to pull us out. They're trying to get us involved so we can do the work. And then once it's said and done with, we can be at the bottom again. No, don't do it anymore. They're egging us on. The Nazi rallies with the people with the flags marching. They're getting rid of DEI and segregation and they removed this black guy from the blah, blah, blah. Why are y'all steadily? We told y'all we rested. So what are y'all reporting on if we already know this is happening? They're trying to set you off. You see what I'm saying? So don't fall into it. Stay in rest. Stay, You stay beautiful, live your life. 100 white people can be out over here acting a fool, and you and 5 other white people, black people, Asian, whoever can have the best time of your life. All that whole race, color, culture, all that stuff, it is irrelevant and one of the weakest things. And in actuality, in an actual argument about evolution, the more melanin you have, you'd be more of a suit because you can survive in any part of the world. You don't need sunscreen. You don't need things for this natural planet. Our skin literally turns vitamin. We don't need milk. Our skin turns UV light into vitamin D. We don't have to drink milk. That's wild, right? Milk causes constipation and gets some of us sick. Why? It's not a part of our genetic diet. And humans shouldn't even be drinking cow milk. It's way too much protein. So it's just some of the irony that I'm starting to see. The more I was complaining about Trump, but the more he does and destroys things, it's like, holy crap. And I'm seeing all these people still following him after all this destruction he's done. And I'm like, them the kind of people you got to stay away from. They are. This one guy was like, the Democrats and the liberals all have such a bad hate for one man and are so full of hate and rage. And I thought to myself, Obama, Biden, Hillary, like, y'all turned an old white woman into a killer. That's why I don't respect when people talk about Putin and China. They don't have no idea. See, watch. A person comes to me and be like, Putin's a fucking killer and he's bad. What's Putin's middle name? How old is Putin without looking anything up? What's Putin's mother's name? How many kids does Putin have? I don't know that. So if a motherfucker that don't know nothing about you just came up to you and called you a murderous asshole, what would you do as an American? You don't know me. You can't judge me. Only God can judge. But then they all go around running their fucking mouth. The leaders of China and Russia are the only ones building Africa, while all of France and Europe are destroying Africa still. Or trying to. They're getting cock blocked now. It's all bullshit. They'll be like, oh, Putin, what about Stalin and Russia in the 1800s? Now go research America in the 1800s. They was burning, cutting off genitals, hanging, and all that other stuff. The citizens, not a dictator. They're police. So that's why I ingest information on my own. Even when I hear people saying Putin had somebody killed. Now come over to America, look at how many people the government had killed. All these insurgencies people killed. Then you look at the everyday people, they're dictators. A lot of them are. That can't think on their own and have forsaken a relationship with that which I am and critical thinking skills. They'll use all this technology, get on the technology, make a video to say technology isn't real. But then say magic lords and gods who they were told not to worship have full power and control over them and everything else in the universe. All you gotta do is listen to them for so long, and you will start to realize that everything they say is a fabrication of their imagination. A projection of how they feel. So like the Italian asking the black girl, what about Italians? Because one, they want to be like us. They want to be invited to some group. But then as a faction of humanity, people all seem to have a problem with African Americans until now, right? People are begging for our help. So, it is what it is. The curse is them trying to get y'all off the couch, get y'all running out here and acting a fool, and then y'all can get hurt. You see all these protests and riot and everything else they're doing, nothing's happening. And Trump is doing worse and worse. As soon as we say we finna rest, the world starts to get destroyed, right? They want you to get off the couch so you could get shot with beanbag guns and look at ass, and Fox News could call y'all violent and shit. Don't fall for it. Then they'll say, well, what about the Lord God? Oh, the one from the Middle Hundreds that Germany used and the Byzantine Catholics to murder half the world? And then I looked up, I said, do the Catholics have anything to do with the Mongols? Now on Google search on these different websites, oh, there was Catholics in the Mongol Empire, but they didn't influence the Mongols. Okay. While y'all look for Prester John at the ice caps, whatever the fuck that means. All billions of humans on the planet, like all these billions of humans having traveled the entire globe, scientists from every culture, but they're all lying. Why? Why would they lie? The things that are lied about are silly things about power and laws and religion. You guys are questioning whether or not these magical fucking fantasy stories are real. But then you'll see structures on the actual planet and go, that's not real. You'll see the moon and say, that's not real. You believe in a God that you can't see, touch, hear, nothing, because the voice comes from within. You're the God or goddess. Then you'll see moon, stars, and everything else go, that's not real. It's fake. Why? Why are you all doing that with your lifeblood? Stop it. I honestly, I go to somebody, a Christian or a scientist, and I say, whether the sun is real or not, whether the Milky Way is real or not, whether Jesus, God, Allah, all that real or not, are you still gonna eat today? You still gonna sleep today? Some people don't have those privileges. Because no matter what information you find out, you still gotta live. See people talking about hidden paperwork and the Epstein files and all sorts. What is an Epstein file? The people that, so 10 years ago, I was at a big Hollywood party. Hey, that Epstein guy's here. Take a picture. What do that got to do with being a pedophile on Epstein's island? People are not using proper critical thinking skills, and they're letting the actual murderers and psychopaths get away with murder and psychopathy. Y'all called Hillary a killer? What is that? I can't. But then the actual federal government, what happened to Gaddafi? What happened to that guy, the president of Burkina Faso before this Ibrahim Traore? What happened to all these other African leaders? Y'all are not innocent. Y'all bloodstain has been trailed throughout history. You know, y'all trying to, the people of color, immigrants. Y'all look fucking nuts. So, I smoke when I can, and I relax when I can. I meditate when I can, and I talk to who I am when I can, and keep myself level-headed. And, you know, I can't even watch Jewish videos anymore. Christian, Jewish, Muslim, none of them. They make me sick as soon as they start talking. It's cosplay. It's all cosplay. I still hear Jewish rabbis talking about the nation of Israel and we're a sovereign nation and blah, blah, blah. Y'all are fucking murderers. And you're marked with the beast law, those 613 mitzvahs plus the 3 from the Ark of the Covenant, the first 3 from the 10 Commandments that y'all mashed together. So religion started making me sick. It's like people are starving to fucking death. I got my white cup. You know what time it is, baby. People are starving to death, being murdered, Sharia, all this crazy shit. And y'all be worried about scrolls and tablets and temples. I don't know what goes on in y'all temples. Somebody dropped shit. So, I just thought that was funny, man. He tried to bring back segregation, and MAGA was the one that got segregated against. And I keep telling y'all, don't be vexed by online. I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is bots. These people, this agency, I think it's called Boost Too. They keep sending me emails, and TikTok does it too. They be like, boost your blah, blah, blah. We'll guarantee comments and all this other stuff. If you, I think it was like $10 or something like that. None of it's real. They can create 1 million bots in 50 seconds with an AI or an algorithm. People in real life don't even really act the way people online are acting. And it's just tiring seeing it all. Seeing people become so overwhelmed by social media. That's wild to me. Let it go. Do something else. Play a video game. Video games helped me a lot growing up. It's hand-eye coordination and critical thinking skills and reaction times. Play a word game or a cross puzzle. Play a mobile game. With mobile games, I don't know why anybody else is still arguing. There's everybody on the face of the planet has a game in their pocket. They could be having fun with it. They want to get online and argue and shit. They want to create laws to segregation. I keep telling y'all, white Caucasians do not want segregation again. They do not want this shit. Every Caucasian I know is mixed with some Hispanics, African Americans, whatever fucking other nation. And they do the same of the other nations. We all want to assimilate and mingle. That whole, the Lord said don't mix with them. Y'all are taking staunch warnings from staunch metaphors and turning them physical. If the Lord don't want me hanging out with somebody, it's because they're probably murderers or drug addicts or something crazy that will affect my life. Has nothing to do with their race or creeds. Unless they're psychos and sociopaths. And so I just really think that, oh, I almost forgot. Shout out. Dan Saber sent me his piano book. Dan Saber, you can get on piano frets method. And you could get this on Amazon by Dan Saber. And it teaches you how to play the piano, man. I don't want to reveal too much. I don't want to spoil the book, but yeah, man. I'm going to look at the pictures and put my fingers where the pictures say to put your fingers, and I'm going to make beautiful music in no time. Thank you for the book, friend. So, yeah, man, I love being awakened now. I am starting to see that my words and my actions and what I allow and hear and what I dwell into, because space-time, the reason, like, I tell people you can't go back in time for a crazy reason. And the reason you can't go back in time, and this is from a scientific, this isn't like some sci-fi. Even when you think of the word time, time is only comprised of a bunch of chemical reactions and the distance that they travel and or the distance that they go and or how many reactions that they're involved in. And so if I was to say the amount of time it takes me to smoke this blunt, I'm just really saying the amount of times I puff, inhale, and turn this into carbon dioxide and water, if that makes sense. And so with that being said, you can't go back in time because everything around you is a bunch of chemical reactions. You exist because, as I spoke before, after you've done meiosis and mitosis, you begin splitting a bajillion times. Your cells do until you become this. Not me, you, whatever. And so if you were to go back in time, you're really just reversing all of the chemical process that the blinks, the cell splitting, the division, the blood flowing, you're just reversing that. And so you would be throwing up food constantly and re-putting shit in your butt, and the shit would be masticizing back into particles. But it's just like a whole, like, so that's one gruesome reason why I don't think we would be able to go back in time. I don't think people understand what I'm saying right now, the concept, or else worldwide people would be like, oh, going back in time would be painful. But also at the same time, I don't believe in time travel per se, the way people are like, you go into a vortex and go for that. Because so food I eat food. It exists. But time does not. Time is just a measurement. And so if I were to say time, then people are like, oh, this thing, and that's not the case. It's like degrees. It's 60 degrees outside. 60 degrees doesn't exist. 60 degrees is a measurement of a temperature of something else. Time is a measurement of chemical reactions of the universe, the continuum. It continues because it's not an object. And so you cannot take that object and bend it. It is a concept. So in the brain has a plastic device called the hippocampus. I'm giving everybody else who isn't religious a way out. And in the hippocampus, it's a plastic device where most of the consciousness and many other things in the brain happen. Why? There's a show called Altered Carbon. That's what it reminds me of. Why in the fuck do we have a plastic device in the center of our brain where all the chemical activity happens? Then also, we travel outside of ourselves while inside of ourselves in sort of a sleep mode with REM and daydreaming and other tactics. How? Because I would like to tell you, what you're seeing in front of you, talking and hearing and seeing, is not actually what is. It's your brain perceiving it in the way that it will, so that it can give you the information that you need. If you do not believe me, go, when you're done listening to me, record something. Just record an empty room, maybe on your phone or something, especially if you go outside. And when you listen to that recording back, you're going to hear a whole bunch of fucking noise. Your ears are some of the most powerful recording devices ever. But why don't you hear all that noise? You do, but your brain doesn't perceive it. Why don't you see air? You would go fucking blind. Why don't you hear certain things? You would go mad. So we receive what we need to help us perceive and live. We'll see certain animals and be like, I'll see certain sea creatures like, it doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have anything. How does it? And then it's like, boom. I'm thinking about it from my. I'm gonna give you an interesting riddle real quick. I asked somebody this question, and they kept saying, I said, where am I to them? And they kept saying, I don't know where you are. And then I told them, you're not listening to me, you're listening for me. I said, where am I? And they kept saying, where I was, me, the person asking the question. And it wasn't until some time they finally realized I was speaking universally for the mind. I am that which is. I am the living one. I am the one who frees or binds. I am the King of Kings, or if you are woman, I am the Queen of Queens. I am but an angel to you all else, but to that which I am the living one and the King of my world. Where am I? Many times I am bound, while the other men refurnish my house and live in it. But when I am fully aware and awakened, I am who I am. I am the living one. I am the one who frees if I will. I will have no gods before who I am. Ye shall have no gods before who I am. Ye shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I am jealous. When a person begins to replace God and Jesus with I am and who I am, and start to understand the word for what it is, then the kingdom of the heart will be revealed. I oftentimes tell people after revealing the covenant, the Ten Commandments, now go back and read that book and see whose God is doing what and where at many different times throughout history. Because of who I am is who they're praying to. I didn't tell them to go slaughter all them people. I didn't tell them to go do this and that. I didn't tell them to segregate and hate. Every man or woman possesses an I am. Have you not heard we are the gods? Have you not heard Yehohanan? I'm sorry, John. I mean the man who was beheaded, their man God, pagan God, Jesus, created by the Catholics, the Romans, and the English. Where they got Jehovah from, Yehohanan, John. But when the new bride, the new Catholics, came and tried to take over, the daughter of them, the Christians, beheaded the whole story. See how those metaphors work? But do what you will. It's your choice. But anyways, that which I am is the shrewdest beast in the field, and I am here to tame mankind in the image of that which I am. I possess deep psychological knowledge. When where am I makes sense, the kingdom of the heart will be revealed. When I am the King of Kings makes sense, the kingdom of the heart will be revealed. When you all start replacing heavens with heart and earth with flesh, many different things will start to be revealed. Not all times. A metaphor is a metaphor. It could be just talking about any type of thing with the earth. But there are many times in that book where at the beginning it is saying, that which I am, in the beginning, created the heart and the flesh. It hovered over the waters. What hovers over the waters? The Lamb at the end that walks over the lake of fire and the Ark of the Covenant, who holds 7 stars in his hand and 7 colors in the sky. It's all symbolic. But people have bloodied religion. They've bloodied civilization for greed and power. The Romans, it was corruption in this earth before that, but the Hyksos, the Asiatic shepherd kings, and the Romans kicked off sick movements that took over the world and then ended up with France eventually, and then Germany. France was much more brutal and violent than Germany, unless you bring Belgium into the equation. And so, the things that I tell you all, that dude who is talking about in 18 minutes, I can help you construct or all that with the simulation, he looked like a Caucasian Morpheus. He looked like when black people are white passing. He looked black like Pastor Gore. I had a pastor named Pastor Gore years ago, but he looks really Caucasian. But you can kind of almost, I don't know. Maybe he is Caucasian. He looks like super light skinned mix. Good guy. He seems really nice, you know what I mean, from what I can tell on camera. So, go on out there and stay beautiful, stay blessed. I've told y'all, if y'all have not learned with Omni Aris, that dude has been tormenting people for years. He came into my corner, and now I can't find him. So, oh, they got video. The same thing he used to do to people. Now, when I type his name in, people just clowning him, dogging him. His karma. I was watching South Park last night, and it was an episode where Cartman got $1 million for something, and he ended up buying a theme park. And so Kyle was getting really depressed. He had a boil. He's like, he kept talking to God, why is this happening? Blah, blah, blah. It's not fair. It's not fair. Cartman truly got enjoyment by being the only one at the park and being an asshole. Well, eventually he found out he needed to invite people to the park in order to maintain the park. When he invited more and more people, he had created a movement, made it the biggest park in the town, and it started booming. When the park started booming, the old owner was like, what the heck, what's going on? Cartman got pissed though, because everybody was at the park and he couldn't play alone there anymore. He sold the park back. When he did that, there was a debt that happened there, of course, Kenny, and a bunch of other things like taxes and stuff. He lost all his money. At the very end, Kyle was like losing it, flatlining. Then he saw Cartman cursing and say, why'd I lose everything? Duh, duh. And he got healthy again. There's two problems with that episode. Kyle was basing his relationship on what Cartman was doing. Cartman needed to learn a lesson and realize that he's not the only one on fucking planet Earth, and he had to gain something and then lose it. But Kyle was so busy worrying about Cartman, he couldn't see that. That's the problem with most people. Kyle almost lost his life worrying about what Cartman was doing. We need to start healing that which I am, loving who I am first. Then I can love my brethren. Then I can stop coveting after my neighbor. Then I can stop stealing. Then I can stop killing. I do those things because I don't love who I am with all my heart and soul. Because if I loved who I am with all my heart and soul, I would do what who I am is telling myself to do. Humans are not inherently evil. Humans have a reward and a punishment system. It's called pain and pleasure. They are pleasured by the right thing. There's dopamine that is released when we do the right thing and get correct answers and things like that. What's happening is we are teaching civilization through the media and these psychopathic type laws for civilization and bureaucracies, teaching people to be demonic and dark and require things like forever chemicals and a lot of this other stuff that they would have never even knew about. America brags and boasts about how bad cancer is, but most of the stuff they sell causes cancer. They bragged about how Africa was the disease continent, but during COVID had the least fatalities and was affected the least. And so the more I learn and grow for myself and manifest with that which is for me, life has been beautiful. Last year, 2 years ago, even with a job, my life was a living hell. I started talking to that which I am, the Lord. I started meditating the right way, staying in constant meditation by basically saying I have a constant relationship with that which I am, and then I can view the world more clearly. Now I'm not doing things I didn't want to and then pouting and bitching about it. Now I'm not giving people money and doing extra things and then being like, they didn't do nothing for me and all this other shit. Now I respect the things that I do in life. When people don't respect my life or rules, you're not married, you're having sex and living there, and she comes and when she goes and you're doing this and that. I said, don't commit adultery with that which I am. You had no condemnation or fear of anything that you were doing. But now, because of other people's mouths, and you weren't causing harm, now you're like, am I doing right? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? When people come up to me and tell me I'm stupid, I'm slow, I'm autistic, why are you slow and who told you that? Well, I'm always doing dumb shit. According to who? Other people? You want me to show you some not slow people? You want me to show you some not autistic people? Stop diagnosing people with things that are irrelevant. Autism is one thing, but you don't tell somebody they have autism and then tell them they need all this medication that they're going to be dumb and less than people. Because people are already pretty low on the ground. So, Like I said, I don't speak on sin on this camera, but I seen that over in Europe, 92% of children that was Down syndrome was aborted. I was like, holy fucking shit. But I guess because you can detect it before birth now. You imagine how many of them tests was wrong and innocent children just. I mean, I'm sorry for what I just said. All those children were innocent. All of them. So I don't condemn people for certain things, whatever. I'm not in that situation. But is that what y'all use science for? To predict if a baby's gonna be retarded and then nuke it? This is my monkey fucking human race. This is what I was born into. But instead of saying that, see, I rebuke you, Satan. I am who I am. I am a living one. I am thankful and appreciative. I understand that there are unaware buffoons that exist. And so I simply live my life and try to navigate through this ocean to the best of my ability without any idols attached to my fins. And if you run up on me, I'm not turning the other cheek. I'll swing them fins like skippity paps. Words are words. I choose which ones I give life to. I'm not violent, but you're not going to stomp me. So with that being said, I really just come to teach the lamb, teach them how to be strong again. The lake of fire, I've already given this metaphor. The lake of fire has already come. It's a metaphor for Gehenna because it went from hell to Hades to Hemna to Gehenna to Insanity and Dharma. Now it's Satan and Karma. They just flipping shit around. So think for yourselves, man. Let's awaken and get away from all the cosplay. And if you're going to cosplay, acknowledge that it's cosplay and enjoy it in life. You guys, what did the Joker say? Why so serious? Do you know how I got these scars? I got my scars from when you take God for granted. I heard another one of these PCs was talking about he's what happens when you carve God out of the driftwood of your own hunger. I was like, ooh. So my people, stay on the couch. Let me handle this one. So, stay blessed.